The brand new Lumberjack evolution is now available inside of Clash Royale through buying the Diamond Pass, but is it worth it? Today I'm going to rank the Lumberjack Evo based on 5 criteria. How expensive is it to buy? How good is the actual evolution and the card? How many decks is the evolution going to be viable in? What the likelihood the card getting nerfed is and how soon? And is the evolution worth unlocking over other options? Starting off with how expensive the Lumberjack Evo is. Now it's going to be 13 American dollars, which is the same standard price as every other Diamond Pass evolution. However, there are some cards that get released in the shop, like if we have 2 evolutions in one season, and they are around $10 to buy them. It's not at all worth it compared to a pass evolution, because the pass gives crazy rewards for the price and is definitely worth it to buy if you can afford it. So it's just going to be the same as every other evolution. How good is the actual evolution and card? Now this is fun because the evolution, in case you don't know what it does, the Lumberjack, when he dies, will spawn a ghost version of himself with infinite HP. He cannot be damaged, he cannot be killed, he will survive as long as he's in a rage spell. Yes, that's as broken as it sounds. The only thing your opponent can hope to do is distract him by kiting him out of the rage or just using a meat shield to soak up a bunch of Lumberjack hits. Now, throw that on top of the fact that the Lumberjack's already a really good card and he's very oppressive on offense, and you got a bit of a problem. The card seems extremely oppressive on launch, and I know that's been a recurring problem with Clash Royale, is that they keep releasing stuff that's really strong, and the Lumberjack is no exception to this. It ranks very highly in the how good category is the card. I would definitely give it a strong, like, 9 out of 10 in this one. How many decks is the evolution going to be viable in? Now, this is the interesting part, and probably the weakest part of the Lumberjack Evo. Right now, there's just not that many Lumberjack decks. You think of Lumberloon, there's some rare, obscure Royal Giant Lumberjack decks, there's some bridge spam Lumberjack decks, and they kind of died over time because they didn't have evolutions. So now that the Lumberjack's actually getting an evolution, there's going to be around like 3 core decks that you can maybe play, and I'm sure the pros will come up with something else as well. The problem is Lumberjack's he's not the greatest card if you don't have a deck built around him. Like, you need to build a deck around the Lumberjack that synergizes with him, specifically using a win con that benefits from rage, which is usually the balloon. Now, you can probably mess around with your deck and shove the Lumberjack in for something, but the problem is he's a hybrid card, so he's not a tank like the Knight, and he's not a big damage dealer like the Mini P.E.K.K.A, so you're kind of getting a mixture of both of these roles that doesn't really necessarily fit in every single deck. But the Lumberjack Evo seems strong enough that you could try and make it work and probably like have success with it. If you wanted to, you could probably switch to a Lumberjack deck that would be powerful with this Evo, even if the Evo ends up getting nerfed, which we'll talk about in a second. Another thing to consider is, do these decks already have evolutions? Like, or are they using something because there's not enough evolutions in the deck? Now, I know with Lumberloon, a lot of people like to use E-Drag and something like Evo Knight. Well, now we could just get rid of the Knight, go back to Bowler by using, I know P.E.K.K.A is very popular too, but it's also getting a nerf. So Lumberjack kind of looks like it's going to slide into Lumberloon without you having to replace too much. You might just go back to the OG Lumberloon decks. Lumberloon, or just Lumber Ram Rider Bridge Spam, which was really popular back in the day before Evos happened, doesn't have enough Evos to be viable. So with the Lumberjack coming in, it's now going to be able to have 2 evolutions, and you really just can't compete without using the power of 2 evolutions. So how many decks is it going to be viable in? Well, it's not going to be a ton, but you could probably try and make it work, and the Lumberjack's not a bad card at all, so you could definitely have some success with it messing around with your deck. Overall, maybe a 4 or 5 out of 10 because it's not a super versatile card. What is the likelihood of the card getting nerfed and how soon? Now, this is where the fun part is. He is getting a release nerf, which is going to cut his damage effectively by like half. He's going to be doing way less damage in the evolved version. This doesn't affect the base Lumberjack, only the evolved version. So he's going to be less dangerous when he gets to your tower, but the problem of him being able to get to your tower and stay alive is still an issue. So I expect it to get a time limit nerf, because in 2v2 ladder, which is upcoming this season, or is now in the game, you could theoretically just keep him alive forever. So I definitely expect them to probably try and add a time cap of how long he can be alive, whether it's 8 seconds, 10 seconds, however long they end up deciding it on. But outside of that, I feel like the actual thing that the Lumberjack does, just staying alive and getting bonus damage, is very, very good and can't really be nerfed without removing it. So regardless of if it's alive for less time and it's not cheesy and it does less damage, it's still going to get decent to good to great value pretty much every time you play it, as long as you're playing it smart or your opponent doesn't like kite it out, because it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to just spend bonus elixir to kite a dead ghost version of the Lumberjack. That's just, you can't, elixir doesn't grow on trees, guys, unless you're my opponents. Anyways, the likelihood of the card getting nerfed, it is getting nerfed already, and it will probably could receive one more nerf based on if it's really oppressive or not. So maybe like a 6 or 7 or 8 out of 10, because it depends. The card is still going to be viable and it's still going to be strong regardless of if it actually ends up getting a time nerf, which I think it will. Is the evolution worth unlocking over other options? Now this is kind of tying into the versatility we talked about earlier. If you're a Lumberloon player, yes. If you're interested in playing like bridge spam with the Lumberjack and you're willing to spend money or use your wild cards to upgrade a different deck, then yes. But if you're just a casual everyday player who maybe doesn't even use the Lumberjack, maybe not. I mean, if you can test out a Lumberjack in your deck, you know, just go to Grand Challenges or something, just try him out and see if he's fitting in your deck and you like it and you think this Evo would be good in your deck, then get it, try it out. I think he's going to be a very strong evolution. However, the problem is his versatility, and he's not going to fit in every deck, and he's not going to give you that role that a lot of other cards give you all the time. I'd recommend trying to play casual 1v1s or like classic challenges, grand challenges, trophy road, whatever, with the Lumberjack in your deck to test out if it actually synergizes first. Play a handful of games with it, see if you like it, and then buy the evolution instead of buying it and then figuring out it doesn't work in your deck and having to switch your entire deck or just not use the thing you bought. Overall, the pass rel is still a really, really good value, even if you don't end up using the evolution that often, but still, you are buying this for the evolution typically. A lot of people buy it regardless of it, but we're talking about if you're trying to get the Lumberjack Evo itself. I would recommend, if you already play it, definitely get it. It's going to be strong regardless of nerfs. And if you don't play it, really consider testing it out before you buy it by using just the base Lumberjack in your deck. Hope that video helped you guys, and have fun with the brand new Lumberjack.